Real quick before this video starts, I would like you all to know that I recorded this the morning of July 6th before Baker Mayfield had been traded, and as I was literally in the last 10 minutes of editing this video, he got traded to the Panthers. So yes, this is now completely out of date, but I've still put the time in to edit it, so I'm still going to upload it. I might still eventually do a Panthers one anyway. Today I'm going to rebuild the Seattle Seahawks, who are one of the worst teams in Madden whenever you use an updated roster for the upcoming season. But we are not going to be rolling with Drew Lock. I'm going to trade for Baker Mayfield from the Browns, and we're going to see if I can rebuild this team around him. Now obviously they have Deshaun Watson on the roster and Baker Mayfield, so I don't know exactly what it's going to take to trade for Baker. I am a big fan of Baker Mayfield though. I feel like he can still be a really good quarterback in this league. I am biased though because I am a Sooners fan and actually have a signed Baker Mayfield jersey hanging on my wall. We'll start with just offering a second round pick. Let's see if they take that. And nowhere close. One thing to keep in mind is I don't have a first round pick this year because it belongs to the Jets still. So let's offer our second round pick this year and our second round pick next year. Let's see if they take this. And a little bit closer. So now I've offered up a second round pick this year, a first round pick next year, and a fourth round pick this year. We have two of them, and we are a lot closer. I don't know if this will work, but I've changed our fourth round pick this year to a third round pick next year. Does that get us Baker Mayfield? No, it does not. Well, I think this is going to be the only thing that goes through. A second round pick this year, a third round pick this year, and a first round pick next year for Baker Mayfield, and that still does not go through. What about 2 second round picks and a first round pick? I'm trying to avoid trading any players because I'd like to keep the 2022 roster intact, and that gets us the trade. So we just won't have a pick until the third round in the next 2 drafts. That's not going to make this rebuild any more challenging at all. So I had to change Quandre Diggs' number from 6 to something else, and I went to go change Baker's number to 6, and now we have an upgrade. Let's just upgrade our strong arm so it fits our scheme. And here is officially our starting quarterback for this entire rebuild, Baker Mayfield. Like I said, I am a big Baker Mayfield fan. I still think he can turn it around in the league and still be a really solid quarterback. And I guess I'm going to test that out here. Well, let's take a look at the roster. Obviously, at quarterback, we have Baker Mayfield backed up by Drew Lock. At running back, we have several players, including Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, and rookie Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State. Then we have star wide receiver DK Metcalf, followed by Tyler Lockett and Marquise Goodwin. Receiver is probably something I will look to add a decent slot receiver at, but right now with these two, we're good. The only concern is Tyler Lockett's 28. By the end of this rebuild, he will be 33. So we'll probably look to move on from him at some point. At tight end, we have Noah Fant and Will Disley. How's our offensive line? A 73 overall rookie Charles Cross. At left guard, a 72. At center, a 75. At right guard, a 79. And at right tackle, a 58. But let's take a look at the defense. We have a 71 overall Boye Mafe. I have no idea how to say his name. I'm not even going to lie. At right end, we have a 79 overall Shelby Harris. At defensive tackle, we have Al Woods and Bruno Ford, a 79 and a 76 overall. At outside linebacker, we have Darrell Taylor, who is 73. At middle linebacker, we have Cody Barton, who's a 72. Right outside linebacker is Jordan Brooks. We will look to keep him as long as possible because I know he develops into a good player if you can actually develop him correctly. Our number 1 corner is Sidney Jones. That is not a statement I ever wanted to say as a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Well, I guess at one time we really thought Sidney Jones could be our number 1 corner, but he was just never the same after his injury in Washington. And at free safety, we have Quandre Diggs, and like I said, I changed his number from 6 to 34 in case you're curious about that. And at strong safety, we have Jamal Adams, a 91 overall. I am very concerned about the offensive line. I don't know how much Madden actually takes into effect whenever simulating for offensive line, but I imagine having this bad of an O-line is not going to help us at all. And now over on the defensive side of the ball, I did switch to a 3-4 because that tends to work better for me, at least in simulation. I don't know why, it just always does. But obviously, just like I showed, we will be building this defense around Jordan Brooks and Jamal Adams and hopefully building it rather quickly. I'm not going to lie, I'm really looking at signing Odell Beckham here, but I don't think him and Baker can play on the same team anymore, especially with how shit ended in Cleveland. So instead of Odell, I'm going to sign Will Fuller, and hopefully he plays more than like 2 games before his knee completely falls apart again. We're also going to sign Kevin King because I believe him and Sidney Jones actually played at Washington together, and I think they played on opposite sides of each other, so we're going to sign Kevin King and put him on the opposite side of Sidney Jones this year. Not much change since you guys saw the depth chart except for Will Fuller is now here. He will play the slot receiver spot. The offensive line, I didn't sign anybody. We're just going to see how these guys progress, and then we'll try to improve that in the offseason. On the defensive side, Kevin King will not be playing opposite of Sidney Jones because Coleman is over here. He's a 76 scheme fit with a star dev trait, so hopefully he gets a little bit better. But Kevin King will be playing in the slot. In case you've never seen any of my franchise rebuilds, the way I do it is I simulate to mid-season, see how we're doing, check out the stats, and then we go to the end of the year. So with that being said, let's jump to mid-season and see how this team performs. Well, at the mid-season point, we are a lot better than I thought we would be. We are 5-2, and we are rolling with the number 5 offense in the league and the number 14 defense. Baker Mayfield with 2,100 yards, almost 2,200, 17 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Chris Carson, 99 carries for 2 touchdowns. Rashad Penny has 9 rushing touchdowns, though. Receiving, Will Fuller, 45 catches for 7 touchdowns, so that signing has proven to be a pretty good idea. DK Metcalf, 27 catches for 4 touchdowns, and Lockett, 30 for 3. Jamal Adams is leading the team in tackles with 39. What about sacks? I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name, but you have 4.5, and I'm proud of you. Interception, Sidney Jones has 3 and Justin Coleman have 3, so we're getting turnovers, which is nice. So now we will jump to the end of the season, see if we stay in the lead for the division and try to win a Super Bowl, maybe even in season 1. We finished the season 11-6 with the 3rd offense in the league and the 16th ranked defense. Okay, that's not great, but we're off to a good start in this rebuild with the number 3 offense, obviously. So I'm not sure what the hell's going on in Houston, but they got the 1 seed in the AFC side in the first season of this thing. That is impressive. The Buccaneers are the 1 seed on our side, and we are the 4 seed. Before we simulate into the playoffs, let's see how Baker Mayfield did. 5,200 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions, so a pretty good season for Baker Mayfield. Rushing-wise, Chris Carson, 239 carries for 10 touchdowns, and Rashad Penny had 11 touchdowns. Receiving, Will Fuller, 93 catches for 13 touchdowns. The slot receiver is just completely broken in simulation. We had 3 receivers go over 1,000 yards, almost 4. Metcalf was only 11 yards away. He did catch 10 touchdowns. Noah Fant had no touchdowns at the mid-season mark and now has 5, and Tyler Lockett caught 6. Looks like Cody Barton ended up leading the team in tackles with 112. With sacks, it goes to that guy that I don't want to try to pronounce his name, and I apologize if you are mad that I don't know how to say his name. But Sidney Jones ends the season with 7 interceptions. Coleman had 6. Jordan Brooks got 3. Another player I don't want to try to pronounce your name got 2. Jamal Adams got 2, and Quandre Diggs got 2. Though it looks like Tom Brady leads the league in passing yards with 5,447 touchdowns, but Mahomes would lead the league in passing touchdowns with 53. Who led the league in picks? Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence both with 19. Nick Chubb had a pretty good year, 1,700 yards and 26 touchdowns, both leading the league. Mike Evans leads the league in receiving with 130 catches. Sammy Watkins had 117. Ridley and Travis Kelce both had 101. You should not be playing. You are suspended. Mike Evans also leads the league in yards. What about touchdowns? That goes to Travis Kelce and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who both caught 15 for the Chiefs. And Odell Beckham apparently joined the Chargers and caught 13 touchdowns. Anthony Walker Jr. leads the league in tackles with 144, and sacks that goes to Von Miller with 20, and interceptions, Sidney Jones led the league with 7. But with all the stats out of the way, let's go ahead and simulate the first round of the playoffs and see if we can win a playoff game. And we do. We win 42-24 over the Vikings. Let's see how Baker Mayfield played. He threw 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. Kirk Cousins only threw 1 touchdown. What about rushing? No one really did anything, and receiving-wise, Will Fuller caught 9 passes for 100 yards and a touchdown. Here is how the rest of the first round of the playoffs played out. The Cowboys knocked out the Saints, the Packers knocked out the Cardinals, obviously we took out the Vikings, the Raiders knock out the 2nd seed Chiefs, and then the Titans lose to the Bengals, and the Broncos knock out the Patriots. So I was curious as to how the Texans managed to get the number 1 seed, and apparently Colin Kaepernick is the answer. An 83 overall quarterback added to this team actually makes it pretty solid. Sorry, I had to go look at that. It was really bugging me how the hell Davis Mills would have led them to a 1 seed and technically his rookie year in this game. But now we will simulate round 2 and see if we can head to the NFC Championship. And we knock out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-28. How did everyone play? Baker Mayfield throws 3 touchdowns, so does Tom Brady. Neither of them threw an interception. On the ground, no one really did anything. Chris Carson leads the game with 44 yards. Receiving though, Mike Evans 8 catches for 145 yards. Tyler Lockett 4 for 104 and a score. Cameron Brate caught 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf caught 1, and Chris Godwin caught 1. So now the AFC Championship is between the 5 seed Broncos and the 7 seed Raiders. So they get an interdivisional matchup in the AFC Championship game. And we get to take on the 3 seeded Packers. So now let's see if we can take down the Packers and advance to the Super Bowl in the first season. And we knock out the Packers 31-28, just like we did the Buccaneers. How did everyone play in this one? Baker Mayfield, another 3 touchdown passes. Rodgers threw 2 interceptions. Rushing wise, Aaron Jones ran for 64 yards, which led the game. And receiving, Will Fuller 7 catches for 112 yards. Tyler Lockett 6 for 105 and a score. And DK Metcalf 2 for 76 and a score. And here is the Super Bowl matchup. Russell Wilson will be taking on his former team, the Seattle Seahawks. I did not think I would get to a Super Bowl in season 1. The only award we won this year was Sidney Jones and Justin Coleman both finished as the top 2 defensive backs. But now, can we win the Super Bowl in our first season of this rebuild, taking on the Denver Broncos? No, we cannot. The Broncos win the Super Bowl 27-24. The Super Bowl MVP is Russell Wilson, and you can see all the other league awards on the side of the screen. Well, let's see how this game played out like it did. Obviously, we lost by 3. How did Baker play? Baker throws 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, so I think that means he threw 12 touchdowns and maybe 1 pick in the entire playoffs. Obviously a pretty good run. Melvin Gordon, 77 yards. Javonte Williams ran in for a touchdown. We did not run the ball at all, apparently. And it looks like Chris Carson may have been injured because he has no stats. Receiving wise, though, Will Fuller caught 6 passes for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had one hell of a day. We just couldn't get the win. Here is everyone that is leaving after the re-signing period. Ryan Neal, Phil Haynes, John Radigan, Tanner Muse. Will Fuller wanted a lot of money. I tried to not lowball him, but I lowered the contract length to only like 2 years since he is 28. And I upped the money a bit, but he didn't want it. So we will try to bring him back in free agency. He did play really well for us. And then Kyle Fuller is also leaving, and Dakota Shipley. All right, I am offering 5 contracts here in the first week of free agency. The first one is Will Fuller. We are going to try to bring him back. I've offered him a 3-year deal with a bit more money than what he was wanting, so hopefully he chooses us over the Browns or the Raiders there. And then we're trying to bring in Jordan Hicks, Lonnie Johnson, Daniel Brunskill, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, and Brandon Parker. These 2 guys will most likely be backups. Lonnie Johnson's also a backup, and then Jordan Hicks will be the second middle linebacker if I don't find one in the draft that I like. But considering I don't think I have a pick until the 3rd round, probably not a high chance. We are still in negotiations for these other players, but it looks like some other teams have joined in these negotiations, so I may actually have to pay these players what they want. I can still kind of lowball Jordan Hicks though, but Lonnie Johnson and Daniel Brunskill, I may have to up their offers a little bit. But I did manage to land Will Fuller, so we get to keep our receiving core intact, and I also got Brandon Parker. It says he's the starting right tackle, but we actually have a backup left tackle that's better than him that played there the entire last season and got up to a 70 overall. But these are the new contract offers for Lonnie Johnson and Daniel Brunskill, just because I'm still trying to land them. And Lonnie Johnson Jr. has signed with us along with Daniel Brunskill, so now the only player left is Jordan Hicks, and now the Texans are in on that. And I upped my offer, but he has apparently decided to reject our contract offer, so we still need a middle linebacker. But real quick, we'll go over the top signings around the league. It looks like Gronk has come out of retirement to go to Indianapolis, Odell Beckham is going to Jacksonville, and JC Treader is headed to Cincinnati. What about quarterbacks? Colin Kaepernick is now a Giant, Tyler Huntley is a Colt, and it looks like they're replacing Kaepernick with Mitch Trubisky. So we are now here at the first draft of this rebuild. If you don't know how the drafts work in my rebuild, I usually pick the first 3 rounds, and then I let the CPU pick rounds 4 through 7, because it's just kind of a crapshoot to me at that point anyway, so I would just rather let the CPU do it. And we only have 1 pick in the first 3 rounds, and it is at pick 31. So we will start by seeing what the first 3 picks of the draft are. The Lions will take quarterback Matthew Samuel out of USF. Not a bad pick, honestly, if they're trying to replace Jared Goff. The Jets with pick 2 take Daniel McCutchinson, a running back out of Wisconsin, with the number 2 overall pick. That better be a damn good running back. And the Giants take Miles Hitchens, a quarterback out of Virginia Tech, even though they just signed Colin Kaepernick. But obviously Kaepernick's kind of old now, so that pick makes sense. And with the 1 draft pick I will make here, I'm looking at defensive tackle George Morrow out of Florida State. He apparently is 100% scouted. He has B hit power, B block shedding, B play rec, C tackle. We're going to go ahead and take him. And what were his combine numbers? He was the 2nd strongest defensive tackle at the combine and the 1st during pro days. So we're going to take George Morrow. Alright, let's see how we did. We started with defensive tackle George Morrow at the end of the 3rd round, who is a 72 overall normal depth trait. I'm pretty okay with that pick. Then we got a 63 overall left guard, not great. 67 overall corner, a 70 overall wide receiver in the 5th round, and then a 64 overall DT and a 66 overall wide receiver. Here is the running back the Jets took with the number 2 overall pick. He is an 84 overall, 83 overall right now because he has low morale. And here are his ratings. This is a really, really good running back. I still don't know if I would have burned a number 2 pick on one though. And here, before we kick off season 1, I'm going to sign middle linebacker Jalen Smith to play the other middle linebacker spot. And here is the starting lineup going into season 2 here. It looks like Will Fuller is already injured though. We'll have to see what that is. But as you notice here, Baker Mayfield is now a superstar dev trade after his season last year. So hopefully he improves a little bit more this year. And on the defensive side of the ball, you now see that Jordan Brooks is a superstar dev trait, and I've also signed Jalen Smith to play our second middle linebacker spot. We have a few injuries to start the year, Quandre Diggs being one of them. He has only gone 1 week though. Al Woods, our backup defensive tackle, is out. Will Fuller will miss the first 3 weeks, and Daniel Brunskill will miss the first week. Alright, last year we went all the way to the Super Bowl. Let's see how we do this year. We'll go ahead and jump to midseason. And here at week 8, we are 4-3 and first in the division. We have the number 4 offense in the league and the number 16 defense. Baker Mayfield has started the season with about 2,100 yards, 18 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. On the ground, Chris Carson has ran for 4 touchdowns, and through the air, Tyler Lockett has caught 32 passes for 5 touchdowns. DK Metcalf 30 for 3, Noah Fant has caught 5 touchdowns, and Will Fuller has only caught 1, so he's taken a step back after getting the bigger contract. Though I know he was injured like the first 3 weeks, and possibly more if he got injured again. But leading the team in tackles is Sidney Jones with 45. I kind of don't like that a defensive back is leading the team in tackles, or at least not a corner. I'd be fine if it was someone like Jamal Adams. The right outside linebacker is leading the team in sacks with 4.5, that I still don't know how to pronounce his name. And interceptions, Jalen Smith has 2, and then Sidney Jones has 1, Barton has 1, Justin Coleman, Quandre Diggs, and Jamal Adams all have 1. But now we will jump to the end of the year to see if we maintain the division lead and get into the playoffs. So we finished the season 10-7, and we make the playoffs. Let's see where we are in the standings. We are once again the 4 seed here. Dallas is the 1 seed on our side, and the 1 seed on the AFC side is Kansas City. Baker Mayfield throws for 5,009 yards, barely breaking the 5,000 yard mark, 44 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. On the ground, Chris Carson runs for 14 touchdowns, and through the air, DK Metcalf 80 catches, 1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett 77 catches for 10 touchdowns. And Will Fuller still kind of taking a step back from last year, but 63 catches for 7 touchdowns. And Sidney Jones finishes leading the team in tackles with 100. I still don't know how much I like my number 1 corner leading the team in tackles. I feel like that's not a good sign. In sacks, it is Darrell Taylor with 8.5, and Poona Ford had 8. Interceptions, Jalen Smith got 3, Sidney Jones had 3, and Quandre Diggs had 3. Brady once again leads the league in passing yards with 5,500. He throws 46 touchdowns, which leads the league, and in interceptions, he also led the league with 22, along with Carson Wentz. Jonathan Taylor runs for almost 1,800 yards and 15 touchdowns, but Nick Chubb will take the lead in rushing touchdowns with 18. Only 1 wide receiver broke 100 catches this year, but 3 tight ends did it. Chris Godwin with 113, and then Mike Gesicki, George Kittle, and Travis Kelce all got 100 catches. And then what about touchdowns? That goes to Rondell Moore with 18, and in yards, that also goes to Godwin with 1,400. Roquan Smith leads the league in tackles with 148. In sacks, that goes to Aaron Donald with 21.5, and interceptions goes to Nazir Adderley with 6. So now we will get ready to simulate the first playoff game this year, and we go in with the number 2 offense, but we are facing the number 1 offense. We have the number 18 defense, but they have the number 29 defense. But apparently that number 29 defense is enough to knock us out of the playoffs as we lose in the wildcard round 31-24. It looks like Baker once again threw 3 touchdowns, but did throw a pick this time. Brady throws 3 touchdowns for 300 yards. On the ground, no one really did anything, and through the air, DK Metcalf caught a touchdown and Noah Fant caught 2, but we could not get the job done. This might be the most random Super Bowl I've ever seen in Madden 22. It is the Washington football team, or the Washington Commanders, taking on the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl. I was curious who was leading the Dolphins, and it looks like it is quarterback Teddy Bridgewater taking them to the Super Bowl. And for the football team, it is Carson Wentz. Not really a big shock there, as we saw he was the one leading the league in interceptions, so I knew he was the starter. But yeah, Carson Wentz has led the Commanders to a Super Bowl. This year, the only NFC award we won is Baker Mayfield wins Offensive Player of the Year. And Carson Wentz and Ron Rivera have led the Commanders to a Super Bowl, winning 20-13 over the Dolphins. Before I jump into this re-signing period, I'm pretty sure this is about to be a very, very expensive re-signing period. We have $112 million in cap space, and I imagine we are about to use a good amount of it because DK Metcalf, Chris Carson, Noah Fant, and Baker Mayfield are all up for contract extensions. Let's go ahead and recap this. First, we have wide receiver DK Metcalf, who is a 96 overall X Factor. We gave him a big contract. He is staying here. I am not offering Chris Carson a contract because I really don't agree with paying running backs that much. I am bringing back Noah Fant, and obviously I am re-signing Baker Mayfield. And now for the guys that are not the big names, starting with Poona Ford. He did have 8 sacks last year, but I'm going to see if I can get a better defensive tackle in free agency, or if maybe I can draft one. I know I don't have a pick again until the 3rd round, but we may bring him back or we may go with another player. Will Disley has re-signed, Jason Myers is leaving, Kevin King is leaving right now because I want to go younger there, see if we can get someone who can actually develop. Marquise Blair is leaving. For right now, Jalen Smith is leaving. I may bring him back though. Quentin Jefferson is leaving. Hugo Amadi, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm going to let him hit free agency. I've re-signed Cody Barton. I tried to re-sign Drew Lock. I kind of lowballed him, or I offered him a lower contract. He said no. He wants to hit free agency. That's whatever. This middle linebacker is gone. Tyreek Smith is gone because he's actually, you know what? No, we'll try to re-sign him. So yeah, we'll bring back Tyreek Smith. He's only 24 years old and a scheme fit. Wide receiver Bo Melton is leaving, and right tackle Jake Curran. And this has happened now the last couple times I've used this updated roster. For whatever reason, the Ravens never re-sign Lamar Jackson on this roster that I'm using. So he is always in free agency at a 98 overall. He generally signs with Houston or Jacksonville. We'll see where he signs with this time. Here are the contracts I'm throwing out in the first part of this free agency. We have running back Kareem Hunt, who I am sort of lowballing. He wants 4 years, $30 million. I'm offering 3 years, $15 million. Sauce Gardner was in free agency, which was kind of a shock to me, but we're going to go after him. Rodrigo Blankenship on a 4-year contract. HaHa Clinton Dix as a backup to Quandre Diggs. Jordan Elliott as a backup to Morrow. And then Nick Gates as a backup to Blythe. The reason I'm not going after Poona Ford is you see there the Bears are far out ahead. They are offering him a lot of money to go play for Chicago, and I'm not willing to get into a bidding war with Chicago. Well, it looks like now there is a bidding war for Kareem Hunt, so we are going to go ahead and withdraw our name out of that because I have no interest in paying him that much. But we did manage to land Sauce Gardner, Rodrigo Blankenship, HaHa Clinton Dix, Jordan Elliott, and Nick Gates. So the reason I'm not burning all of my cap space on some of these big names that I've already signed like Jeffrey Simmons and Josh Jacobs is because I don't want to burn through all of my cap and then be put in cap hell whenever Jordan Brooks and Jamal Adams contracts come up. And it looks like Lamar Jackson did sign with Houston for a lot less money than he was wanting. He wanted like 7 years, $315 million or something, but he gets 7 years, $264. Jeffrey Simmons signs with the Bears for a ton of money. Josh Jacobs goes to Detroit for a ton of money. Kareem Hunt goes to Atlanta, and Chris Carson is an Eagle. And for the 2nd year in a row, it looks like the Detroit Lions have the number 1 pick, so let's see where they go this year. Last year they went quarterback. This year they go with a right outside linebacker, most likely an edge rusher. Let's see, the Texans are going to take wide receiver Dalvin McNeil out of Wisconsin, and then with pick 3, the Lions are still going to pick again. I guess that was the other Rams pick. One of those was a Rams pick, I assume, but Bradley Williams out of Stanford. So they spend 2 first-round picks 2 years in a row on quarterbacks. That's great logic. Now here with the 1 draft pick I will make at pick 20 here in the 3rd round. Chris Gaines out of Iowa State. He has C-man coverage. He runs a 4.42 and then ran a 4.36 at his pro day, so I know he's pretty fast. D play rec, B block shedding. I'm warning you now, he may be below 70 overall, but I believe it's probably a position of need that we're going to need, and I'm hoping he's not that bad. Okay, he is barely under 70 overall. He is a 69 overall. What is his man coverage, though? It is a 70, so he will obviously be like a project player. And then the CPU took a 69 overall free safety, a 70 overall receiver, a 59 overall backup quarterback. We did not have a backup quarterback, so I expected it to draft one, but a 59 overall is not great. And then a 64 overall strong safety. The best player in the draft was Dalvin McNeil, the wide receiver that the Texans took with the 2nd pick. He has 92 speed. Wow, that is actually really good ratings for a rookie. 79 overall and a hidden dev trait. And I've made a trade before we kick off Season 3. I have sent a 2 this year and a 3 next year to the Falcons for middle linebacker Deion Jones. His contract is expiring, so it sort of makes sense that they would want to get rid of him before they have to pay him, and they have another middle linebacker on the roster, so we will have to pay him most likely, but we at least get a solid middle linebacker now. So I never even thought about checking this, but the free safety that the computer took has a hidden dev trait. We are now ready to kick off Season 3 of this rebuild. Here is the starting offense. We still have Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Lockett actually has not been hurt by age as much as I thought. He hit 30 years old. He's still 90 overall, so he's still a really solid receiver for us. And then here is all the starters on the defensive side. I still need to really improve the D-line. I'm hoping that doesn't hold us back too much. But now that we have a really good linebacking core, Barton is the weak link here, but we have Deion Jones, however you pronounce that guy's last name, and Jordan Brooks. I think we're going to be fine. But now I can jump to the midseason point. We will see how good this team really is. At the midway point, we are 4-2, and where are we at? We are ranked 24 in offense. What the hell happened there? And then on defense, we're ranked number 2, so we've now flipped. At the midway point, Baker Mayfield has thrown for almost 1,800 yards, 15 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. On the ground, Kenneth Walker has ran for 3 touchdowns, as has Rashad Penny. Through the air, Noah Fant has caught 3 touchdowns, DK Metcalf has caught 3, Tyler Lockett has caught 5, Kenneth Walker has caught 1, and Fuller has caught 2. Leading the team in tackles is Jordan Brooks with 40. What about sacks? That is also Jordan Brooks with 4. And interceptions, Clinton Dix has 2, Jordan Brooks has 1, Sidney Jones has 1, and Quandre Diggs has 1. Looking at the stats at the bottom of the screen here, we are 9th in points per game on offense, but we are 27th in rushing yards per game, so we're just not running the ball that well, which apparently is tanking this rating. But now I can jump to the end of the season. We will see if we win the division for a 3rd straight year and see if we get into the playoffs. So somehow we finished with a worse record every year, but we've still managed to win the division here. We did not have a great back half of the season, it looks like. We finished as the 5th ranked offense and 4th ranked defense, so I don't really know how in the hell we went 9-8. Before we simulate any playoffs like we have been doing, we'll check out the league stats. Baker Mayfield finishes with 5,200 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. On the ground, Rashad Penny only 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker 531 for 5 touchdowns. Receiving, DK Metcalf caught 92 passes for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. Noah Fant 104 catches for 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. Lockett caught 9 touchdowns and Fuller caught 6. Newly acquired middle linebacker Deion Jones leads the team in tackles with 102. What about in sacks? That goes to Jordan Brooks with 8.5. And interception goes to Jordan Brooks and Clinton Dix, who both got 2. And Tom Brady, who's just getting better with age apparently, throws for 5,600 yards this year, 41 touchdowns and 19 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes with 46 passing touchdowns leads the league, and interceptions is Brady with 19. Jonathan Taylor leads the league in rushing with 1,700 yards and 15 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara runs for 23 touchdowns though. Michael Thomas leads the league in receptions with 120, Godwin at 115, and yards goes to Godwin with 1,600. What about touchdowns? That goes to Mecole Hardman and Travis Kelce, obviously both for the Chiefs with 14. Bobby Wagner leads the league in tackles with 150, and sacks goes to George Karlaftis with 26.5, which might be the record. If it's not the record, it's real damn close. And Darius Slay finishes with 7 interceptions. And obviously we'll be taking on the 9-8 Panthers, as you already saw, so let's see if we can get a playoff win. No, we cannot. We lose 26-7. What the hell happened? Baker Mayfield apparently had a pretty bad game, 14 of 28 and a pick, no touchdowns. What about on the ground? We didn't have anyone higher than 21 rushing yards. Fuller had the highest total of yards, but once again, we cannot get the job done in the wild card round. And we get no yearly awards this year, so we jump right to the Super Bowl, which is Kansas City against Carolina. And the Kansas City Chiefs take the Super Bowl this year, 22-28. Let's recap this re-signing period, starting with middle linebacker Deion Jones. He is coming back. I knew I'd have to pay him whenever I traded for him, and we have paid him. Chris Paul will leave. Marcus Golden is leaving. I tried to bring back Sidney Jones and Quandre Diggs, and both of them would rather test free agency, so we may have to look at bringing them back. I did bring back this guy. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. I should probably look that up, but it's whatever. Damian Lewis is re-signed. Rashad Penny I am not going to re-sign, but I did re-sign Kenneth Walker because he's only 24 and a scheme fit. Darrell Taylor, we're going to let walk. Actually, how much does he want? Okay, he wants a lot of money, so we're going to see what else shows up in free agency. Gabe Jackson is 33 and a 72 overall, so I may try to bring him back, but I want to see what my other options are. Austin Blythe refused to sign. Lonnie Johnson refused to sign. I'm not offering Shelby Harris. I did re-sign Alton Robinson. I'm not offering Freddie Swain, Daniel Brunskill, Stephen Weatherly. I did re-sign Brandon Parker, and then Tariq Woolen is leaving, along with Colby Parkinson and Travis Homer. So we have a bit of roster turnover this offseason, but we get to keep most of our starters. Alright, I'm throwing out a few contract offers here to get Jadeveon Clowney, Trey Turner, Sidney Jones, JC Treader, and Anthony Jennings. Usually I would try to get younger linemen, but we're down to our last 2 seasons, so I'm just trying to get the best players available to try to win now. Sadly, Trey Turner and Jadeveon Clowney would get other offers, and I really can't afford to pay them what those other offers are, so we've moved on. So we're now trying to get Fletcher Cox, we still are trying to get JC Treader, and I've now moved on to Mark Glowinski. So we managed to land Sidney Jones, Fletcher Cox, JC Treader, Mark Glowinski, and Anthony Jennings. We will quickly take a look at the top free agent signings. Derrick Henry is headed to the Patriots, Tyron Smith is a Falcon, Tyrann Mathieu is a Patriot, Teron Armstead is a Jaguar, Stephon Gilmore is headed to the Titans, and Khalil Mack is headed to the Giants. And for the first time in this rebuild, we have a pick in the first round, but let's see where our division opponent, the Los Angeles Rams, go with this pick. And they will take Desmond Brittingham, a quarterback out of San Diego State. So I know it's not the exciting thing to take offensive linemen with your first round pick, but Joshua Lewis has A impact block, B lead block, B pass block power, B run block, and just a lot of other good things. And he was 7th in strength at the Combine and 5th in strength at the Pro Day. So we're going to take Joshua Lewis, right guard out of Miami, and he has a hidden depth trait. And then here with the 19th pick in the third round, I'm looking at Braden Peterson as a backup outside linebacker. We know he has B block shedding, B pursuit, and really don't know much past that besides C tackle, but we're going to go ahead and take him. So looking at this class, we made a decent pick in the first round with a 71 overall guard with a hidden depth trait. He will most likely be the starter. Braden Peterson was not the best pick I could have made, but they did take James Fisher in the 4th round, Eric Singer, a 70 overall right end in the 5th round. Let's see if he has a hidden depth trait. He does not. And then we have a 66 overall wide receiver and a 62 overall middle linebacker. It looks like the best player in the draft was running back Nick Garland. We did pass on him, but I really don't like spending first round picks on running backs. Here is the starting offense heading into Season 4. Really the only big changes are JC Treader is now our starting center, and Lewis, the rookie that we took in the first round, will start at right guard. And here is the starting defense. The biggest change to me is no more Quandre Diggs. We are now starting second-year safety Derek Pollard, who has a star depth trait, and hopefully our defense does not suffer too much from losing Diggs. And now I will advance to the midseason point. We can see how well this team performs. Alright, we've had a pretty good start to the year. We start 5-2 and are leading the division. Hopefully we can keep that up and get to the playoffs, but first let's go check some stats. Baker Mayfield is having a pretty good year. 1,900 yards, 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. On the ground, Kenneth Walker has run for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, so he's off to a better start than last year. Receiving, DK Metcalf has already caught 8 touchdowns on the year on 34 catches. Noah Fant, 38 catches for 5 touchdowns. Will Fuller only has 1, and Tyler Lockett only has 2, and Kenneth Walker has 2. Leading the team in tackles is defensive back Sauce Gardner with 50. What about sacks? That goes to Jordan Brooks with 5.5, and interceptions goes to Sauce Gardner with 3. Before we jump to the end of the season, let's see where we rank. We are the 6th ranked offense and the 25th ranked defense. That is not great. How are we doing on points per game? We are 5th on offense and 19th on defense. We finished the season 11-6, and for the 4th straight year win the division and head to the playoffs. Obviously, we come in with the number 4 offense and the number 28 defense. What about points per game? Oh, and points per game were 28. That's not bad at all. This time we come in as the 2nd seed, though, not the 4th seed. We've come in as the 4th seed the first 3 seasons, and now we come in as the 2 seed, and we get to take on the 7 seed Packers. But let's see how we did statistically. Baker Mayfield, almost 5,000 yards, 42 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Rushing-wise, Kenneth Walker goes over 1,000 yards and gets 11 touchdowns. Receiving-wise, Will Fuller, 83 catches for 7 touchdowns. Noah Fant caught 12, DK Metcalf catches 9, and Tyler Lockett catches 10. With 121 tackles, Sauce Gardner leads the team. In sacks, that should go to Nwasu. There, I'll finally attempt to say your name. I think that's how it says. 8.5 sacks and an interception. Sauce Gardner got 5. Patrick Mahomes leads the league in passing yards with 5,063, and touchdowns that goes to Baker Mayfield with 42, and interception goes to Matthew Samuel with 18. Nick Chubb runs for over 2,000 yards and 18 touchdowns, but leading the league in touchdowns is Joe Mixon, former Oklahoma Sooner. Leading the league in receptions is Michael Thomas again, this time with 1,500 yards, but only 4 touchdowns. Who led the league in yards? That is also Michael Thomas, but what about touchdowns? That goes to DJ Chark and Rudy Butler. Quay Walker leads the league in tackles with 152. What about sacks? That goes to Joey Bosa with 20, and interceptions, Byron Murphy Jr. got 7. But now it's time to see, can we finally get out of the wildcard round for the first time since season 1? No, we cannot. We lose in overtime to the Packers 27-21. Let's see what happened. Baker Mayfield throws 3 touchdowns. Jordan Ta'amu is their starting quarterback. He throws 1 touchdown and 1 interception. On the ground, Walker ran for 59 yards, and receiving, Will Fuller 7 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. So we actually win 2 yearly awards this time. Baker Mayfield wins Offensive Player of the Year and the best quarterback in the NFC. And the Super Bowl will be between the 7-seeded Broncos and the 1-seed Giants. I know I don't check this every season, but I wanted to see who was leading these teams. Russell Wilson is still at quarterback for the Broncos, and the Giants are led by quarterback Jordan Love. Okay, well that's interesting. And the Broncos win their 2nd Super Bowl in this rebuild because they also won season 1 against us. We have yet to make it out of the wildcard round since then though. Alright, so this re-signing period almost went bad because Jordan Brooks tried to leave, but I've just decided to franchise tag him and pay him $16 million next season. We re-signed Charles Cross. We are going to let Will Fuller leave. We're going to let Fletcher Cox go to free agency. JC Treader, I actually want to bring him back, but he is a little expensive right now, so we're going to see if we can get him for cheaper in free agency. We brought back Abram Lucas, almost said his name backwards. And then we re-signed Boye Mafe. No idea if I'm still saying that name right or not. Cody Barton has re-signed. We're letting Jordan Elliott leave. Mark Glowinski, DJ Dallas. We brought back Nick Gates, and we brought back defensive back Kobe Bryant. And then we re-signed Tyreek Smith, and everyone else is going to free agency. And finally, to get rid of his contract, we have dumped Tyler Lockett to the Vikings for a 3rd round pick. The reason I did this is because Lockett is down to an 83 overall, and he was like a $24 million cap hit this year. So I trade him off. We take like a $7 million penalty, but we free up about $15 million in cap. Here are the contracts I am throwing out to start free agency. We're going to try to sign Keenan Allen, Xavier Howard, Von Miller, Eddie Jackson, and Will Fuller. I don't think Fuller or Keenan Allen will sign their deals right now because they're both in the red. I may have to up one of their money a little bit. Well, I was hoping to get Keenan Allen and Xavier Howard a little cheaper, but it looks like they are now both in bidding wars. I will have to evaluate if I still want to go after them or not, but Will Fuller still has no other contract, but I may have to up that money a bit. But we did sign Von Miller and Eddie Jackson. So I had to take out Keenan Allen and Xavier Howard. I wish I could have got them, but I can't really afford them. So I've upped Will Fuller's offer and then offered a contract to Alontae Taylor and Matthew Judon. And now Alontae Taylor has signed, but Will Fuller now is in a bidding war with the Chicago Bears. So obviously I had to bump Will Fuller's offer up, and I bumped up Matthew Judon, so he is more likely to sign now. So we land Matthew Judon, but we do not get Will Fuller. It looks like he decided to sign with the Bears. So I'm going all in on this 5th and final season, so I've traded our 1st round pick this year and a 3rd round pick next year for McCole Hardman. And I've traded our 2nd round pick in the next 2 drafts and a 5th round pick this draft for Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. And then with our 3rd round pick here at pick 16, I'm looking at center Tyler Green out of Texas Tech. We know he has B pass block, B run block power, and he was pretty strong. I think he was 1st in the Combine and the Pro Day. So obviously this draft class will not affect this season too much, but I did take a 62 overall center in the 3rd round, which is remarkably bad. The CPU drafted a 70 overall running back, a 64 right end, and a 65 safety. The best player in the draft was quarterback Mason White out of Georgia, who was 78 overall, not even the first quarterback taken. Well, this is a nice shock. Baker Mayfield is now an X Factor going into Season 5, which will be our last one of this rebuild. If I do not win a Super Bowl, it is obviously considered a failure. And then here is the starting defense for Season 5. We add Von Miller and Dexter Lawrence. That is the main 2 additions. We also add defensive back Eddie Jackson. But here we go. Starting off Season 5, we will jump to the mid-season point and see how well we do. At the midway point, we are 5-2 and first in the division. We are the 7th ranked offense and the 14th ranked defense, so we're at least better on defense than we have been the last couple of years. Baker Mayfield has thrown for about 2,100 yards, 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Rushing wise, Kenneth Walker 451 yards and 7 touchdowns. Receiving, DK Metcalf 34 catches for 3 touchdowns, Darnell Bridges 40 catches for 3 touchdowns, and McCole Hardman 38 for 3. Leading the team in tackles is Jordan Brooks and Sidney Jones, both with 43. In sacks, Von Miller has 11.5. Alright, yeah, he was definitely worth the signing. Interceptions, Jordan Brooks has 1, Alontae Taylor, Jamal Adams, Cody Barton, and Raphael Barnett all have a pick. Now we will jump to the end of the season to see if we make the playoffs for our 5th straight year and to see if we can finally maybe get out of the wildcard round. We finished the season 12-5. We are not the 1 seed, obviously, because we have a game in the wildcard round, but we do walk in as the 2 seed for the 2nd straight year. Baker Mayfield finishes with 5,200 yards, 45 touchdowns, and 21 interceptions. Alright, you kind of went crazy with the picks there, Baker. Kenneth Walker finishes with 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns, and Keontae Fitzsimmons, the rookie running back that it drafted, had 36 carries for 9 touchdowns. Receiving, DK Metcalf 86 catches, 1,300 yards, and 17 touchdowns. McCole Hardman had 12 touchdowns. Darnell Bridges had 6. Deion Jones leads the team in tackles with 99. In sacks, Von Miller ended with 22 of them. Interceptions, Sidney Jones got 3, and Alontae Taylor got 3. Jordan Love leads the league in passing yards by 21 yards, beating out Baker Mayfield. Leading the league in touchdowns is Patrick Mahomes with 46, and in picks is Baker Mayfield with 21. Jonathan Taylor finishes with almost 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, but Alvin Kamara leads the league with 24. Michael Thomas yet again leads the league in receptions with 114, and yards goes to Kadarius Toney with 1,500, and touchdowns goes to DK Metcalf with 17. But now let's see if we can finally get out of the wildcard round for the first time since season 1, or if a rebuild ends here. We blow a 4th quarter lead by the look of that box score, and we lose 38-35. Baker Mayfield throws for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Rushing wise, James Conner runs for 4 touchdowns on us. Receiving, DK Metcalf had 8 catches for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns, and we still lose. Here is how the rest of the playoffs played out, and it looks like it is the 4 seed Texans against the 1 seed Packers. The Packers are led to the Super Bowl by quarterback Mason Rudolph, who was a 69 overall. But it looks like their defense might be pretty stacked. An 86 left end and 85 right end Jadeveon Clowney. Defensive tackle is a 97. Outside linebackers a 99. Middle linebackers an 86. Outside linebackers a 78. Corner is a 99, 86, 82. Free safety is an 88. And strong safety is an 86. And the Texans are led by quarterback Lamar Jackson, who was 99 overall. And the winner of the 5th and final Super Bowl in this rebuild is the Green Bay Packers, 24-21. So I felt like I built a decent team in this rebuild. We got to an 84 overall with an 87 offense. Baker Mayfield got to be an X factor. Just for whatever reason, I can't apparently build defenses. So that will obviously end our rebuild experiment with quarterback Baker Mayfield going to the Seahawks. We get him to a 92 overall X factor. We make the playoffs all 5 years, but only manage to get out of the wild card round once. So I feel like we built a really good team, but obviously with no Super Bowl wins, this rebuild is considered a failure. I may eventually come back to the Seahawks, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.